I just want to have a discussion about Candus Bly, and because I'm a little bit short of time now, I'm not going to go into all the detail that I'd like to be able to for you, explaining some of the things I might bring up here. For example, who people are if I mention their name and don't elaborate. I apologise for that, but I just wanted to get this out because Summer Moon, New South Wales, it's been over 9 months since she went missing from her home in Hawkins County, East Tennessee. And there is so much crap surrounding this poor little girl, most of it coming directly from her parents. Her father, Don Wells, is in prison, well, in jail. He's been there since January the 7th. And Summer's mother, Candus Bly, is enjoying a really fabulous season on the chat circuit on YouTube. So I want to talk about her. I was walking carnivore dog yesterday and Tiff had a live. So that's Zev Girl, and she was playing for her subscribers Candus Bly's interview with the Glarer, and then subsequently I phoned in and had a little chat about that. But then I learned that Candus has been quite the little sensation lately, making a lot of appearances on Prayer Garden, Predator Nation, the Glarer, Benny Keys, of course, and just doing live after live after live in all sorts of states of disarray, sometimes seeming more sober than others. You know, as long as Candus Bly isn't disrespected, she'll talk to a lot of people, right? But just, don't question her about anything. Let her run out her trope. Let us say that she would give her life for Summer, and then let her get on with smoking and just chilling and getting some enjoyment out of life, right? It's not that I don't have empathy for Candus Bly, and empathy, we know this is a two-way street. This involves the interaction, and it involves the interpretation of things between people, right? And, human beings are social animals, and so we have developed empathy, and we've also developed psychological conditions whereby one might not feel empathy in the same way, but it doesn't mean that one can't use and abuse people's sympathy, because that's the thing about empathy. That's the paradox, isn't it? That it can be used for help or for harm, for gain of help in genuine situations, as much as it can be used for gain in constructed situations, right? Anywho, and what do you feel when you look at Candus Bly, and when she talks about her daughter and talks about her boys and that sort of thing, right? Talks about wanting to get the boys back. That's her main drive now, apparently. Do you feel anything at all? I think a lot of people try to relate to her situation and be supportive, at least initially when they come across her, because, maybe they've been in tough situations themselves, and they just maybe see her as someone that's keeping to themselves like they do, is maybe a little bit more isolated, or has a few struggles in life, or has had a difficult upbringing like them, and they want to believe her. They want to help her because they just see this battered, abused woman. They see this woman that is, you know, without all of her children, and they have their own empathy about that, and they want to try and help out. They want to give her the benefit of the doubt because it feels that little bit wrong just to go completely across that bridge to where you can start seeing Candus Bly a little bit differently, other than a victim, at least in her adulthood, right? Candus was abandoned by her mother. This is Candy Harer. Candy Harer, I believe, is a disgusting woman. I think she's nasty. I just sense evil just emanating out of that person, and I don't believe she's got real feelings, even though she probably uses what feelings she does have for her brother, the violent sexual. He's a very specific type of sexual abuser. He's very dark. She cares for Warren enough that she will leave Candus on Ben Hill to go back to be around Warren. I think he was preparing to be let out of prison after a not long enough jail term. And she cares about Rose, her daughter that went missing, the younger sister of Candus. And you get the feeling that Rose was always the favourite, right, with the father figure in Candus's life. There are allegations that this person is not her father, not Candus's father, and that makes sense when you think about her not going to the funeral. And when you think about her early life, what a hell it would be, right? We know what creates a sociopath. It's attachment disorders, it's various types of situations and events. And Candus had her mother that left her. Candus was in the circus. She ran away with the circus, that's right, with the carnival at about 14 maybe. And she had 2 children, right? She had these 2 children, a daughter Candus and a boy, and she had these with someone working in the circus that was a drug user. You know, Candus has had a long history of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and she's had this very shaky relationship with her mother. I don't think Candus has ever felt love, and I think occasionally her mother was meeting with her on this carnival circuit. But, you know, after this, through Don's stepsisters, she's met Don Wells, this older man, this father figure, this abusive, narcissistic person. In my opinion, as is all of this talk, in my opinion, I should put this together a little bit better, but I'm just thinking about time, sorry, and I'm not doing a good job. But, you know, Candus is hooked up with Don Wells. She's had 4 more children after she's already lost her 2 children. Before she starts having the boys in summer, Rose goes missing. And I got to tell you, I would clock Don and Candus for that one. Just in my opinion again, but I'd be pretty much difficult to convince that she doesn't have something to do with that. Candus will tell you often that she was on the road at the time. People seem to believe this as if it's verified. I don't know about that. Arkansas, Wisconsin, something like that is ringing a bell. Candus is making great shakes now that Don's in prison, in jail, to, you know, stress his autonomy, to stress her concern about him, to stress that she doesn't have anything to do with anything he does, with his phone, anything like that. She keeps naming him as one of the persons that she's suspicious of, you know. Oh, Ellie and Jose and Don will turn up in one conversation, and then Jackie Dodd's in another, and Jodie Sue, and on it goes. Everybody but Candus Bly is a suspect to Candus Bly. She doesn't go to news channels to get the word out about Summer. She doesn't use her profile on people's channels when she's there as a guest. She doesn't use those opportunities to talk about what she's doing for Summer, how people can help search for Summer, what's being done, that sort of thing. She doesn't have those moments that, you know, when I know it's up in the air about body language, right? But there are the things that show sadness, and it's not just one thing or the other. And in studies, you know, there's a very specific set of movements that help, and they're quite spontaneous in people when they're expressing sadness and grief. And these clouds of these expressions do not come over Candus. She's very much like Penny Boudreau in a way, the mother of Clarissa. Candus is a psychological swamp. She's a mess. She's not a good person. I don't care what she says about, oh, her boys, this and that. She is toxic, dysfunctional. She has zero boundaries. She's possibly trauma bonded to Don, codependent, abusive. She grooms just like Don. This is all in my opinion. I think she, you know, was yoked to Donnie. He wants to be able to provide himself with drugs and alcohol, and so he works for it, or he hassles for it. Who knows what kind of trouble he's in. I think she's got PTSD. I think she does live in a lot of fear, but she, amongst all that violence and anger, she is ultimately selfish and self-serving and incapable of the action of love. And if you doubt that, you should never forget her taking McDonough down into that dungeon. Who does she think she's kidding? You know, she's just a grifter. I don't know if she had anything directly to do with anything that happened to Summer. It could have been an accident, but her entire life led up to the moment that Summer got gone, as Candus Bly would say. Everything about Candus Bly created the tragedy of Summer Wells, and compassion can come in because we know that Candus is, you know, her uncle is someone capable of great sexual violence and perversity, and it is not far-fetched to think that he abused Candus. And Candy Hearer and Warren Hearer are close. She's still in his life. She hasn't said, "You're sick, mate, and you're on your own." She supports him, right? She's made a choice. She abandoned her children. She has not been able to mother. Candus hasn't learnt to mother from her childhood upbringing. I think she's incapable of caring for someone other than herself. And there's great cruelty in Donnie. We know this. And I think there is great cruelty in Candus as well. She's sly, she's manipulative. And I think there comes a time when you have to stop with the doubt. She's skilled at creating this doubt in you. That's what she relies on. She can't sustain it in long-term relationships, but she can use it for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, and it's not long before people twig. Even people that are nearly no better than her, right? Who decide now they'll try and tell you that they are, but they're not really doing such a great job of bringing up their own children, and their own children are vulnerable to predation through their own lack of parenting skills and life skills, in the same way that Candus Bly was and her children are. I think the legacy of Summer Wells is that the boys are off Ben Hill, and maybe they have a shot now, and maybe the cycle can be broken, that generational systemic cycle of abuse. And maybe that is Summer's great gift in her sacrifice. As I was saying on Tiff's show yesterday, I don't think there was time for Grandis to go to an emergency room, be seen, and to be sprung out by about 10. I think that's partly why it's important for Ellie and her grandmother to lie about when Hunter was picked up that day in Kingsport, June the 15th, 2021, because 11 o'clock would make it a much more believable story when it comes to Candus Bly then taking Hunter and Summer back to the hospital to get Grandis first, so that they are all together for all of those events, including going to the horse pond at Warriors Park. You know, that swamp, it's a cesspit. It is mucky, sludgy, stagnant water with submerged debris, and it's not a healthy place for a child or anybody to swim, let alone let them get right in there splashing around in the water. When I was a child, a girl at school who lived in my neighborhood, her elder brother was 21 at the time. He went underwater at a hot spring and he got a microorganism in his ear, a type of bacteria, I think, and it got in his brain and he died very quickly. And that was just this awful tragedy of this just beautiful person who had everything in front of him, 20-year-old male. Something silly like that. Imagine what's in that pond. It could be anything that caused Summer's demise. Drug overdose is a huge, should be high on people's list. Whether Summer was drugged so that Candus could have her free time, whether she helped herself to something that wasn't just a sweet, I don't know. Whether she's taken in water There's been the dry drowning idea, whether she's knocked her head and she's gotten a concussion and gone into a coma. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It's such a terrible dark bond that Candus has with Candy, right? Candus will take Candy into a hospital to get her inflamed, painful knee seen to. I think Candy would have had an injection of some sort of steroid. Is it because Candus was just thinking about the prescription of painkillers that was to come out of that? Or does she have more care for her mother, who didn't raise her with a lot of love, than she did for her own daughter Summer? She wouldn't take her own daughter to emergency to a doctor. I think we can all agree, no matter what the situation truly is, that at 3:09 p.m, close by to Ben Hell, in the video filmed by Candy Hera, I think we can agree that Summer is asleep or she is unconscious, and not in a healthful, restful way. It looks wrong. People do say that they think that she has passed away, and possibly. There's the information coming out from sources that say, on Just K, for example, that say Summer never got out of the car and that Candus took Summer and passed her off to Don. Candus is very much gunning for Don. Candus would love, her fantasy is that Don will stay in prison forever. She'll have Ben Hell all to herself, and that her boys will come back with her. She's got some crazy ass dream of that. But I tell you what, she's really enjoying her freedom right now. She's using it to relax and chill out on YouTube, talking to people that are using and abusing her. And she is using them in her own way back. She's getting things that she wants out of it. And she's getting high, she's getting stoned, she's getting drunk, God knows what else. Yeah. This is a very, very sick person. That's my belief. And, you know, her grifting ways, her everything in her life has taught her how to plant those seeds of doubt in good people, right? You know, you see through her, right? You know what you're looking at. You know what you're looking at, right? It's laid bare. I don't think she's a very nice person, and I know in my heart that her and her mother and Don, the Unholy Trinity, I know they know what happened to Summer. Who knows what exactly, I don't know. Who was the last person to have that physical possession of Summer, I don't know. But Candus doesn't have a nurturing bone in her body. That isn't just people living in a way, trying to cope, but, you know, doing the best they can up there on that hill. It is, you know, they had those kids living in squalor and seeing drug use and violence, fighting, being shamed, humiliated, pitted against one another. Sure, the boys had their motorcycles, the quad bikes and their basketball hoop and things like that. I bet they're so much happier now and would never want to go back to Candus. Candus Bly, your boys don't want to be with you. They know you. No routine, no care, no bidding. and all types of people just allowed in that house. Imagine witnessing that relationship, the relationship of Don and Candus, and then Candy Harer being there as well. She's hardly the grandmotherly influence, right? She's there because of her own needs. She just needed somewhere to park her trailer. And she wasn't trying to make things better. Look at all the rubbish that she sees every time she walks to her trailer or looks out its window. It's all thrown down that bank. It's all scattered around. It's totally dangerous. No one tried to make a go of it there on Ben Hell. Not for the sake of their kids. They were up there doing drugs, getting out of it, checking out, and just endangering the lives of those precious children every day. They didn't try to plant vegetables. Candy Harer's idea of flowers is cactus, right? Totally fits. And Summer was a flower in the basement, in the dungeon, like flowers in the attic. This is the situation, you know. No one was trying to make it better for those children. They had, what an opportunity. You know, there is so much talk about the land grab and things like that with the Sherfies. You know, you've got some very distasteful people. I think Don Sherfie Jr. Lives near Tim Mullins. I might be wrong about that. And then Sherfie Sr. is next door, and he is living in a partnership, maybe married to Mary Goad, who is Don's stepmother. And it's no way those people of Ben Hell are wanting Don Wells to have lifelong dominion over that land. I mean, I could see it. You've got to be able to take it that step further and say a little girl is the price that people are happily going to make. You know, it's like with Delphi, right? Land grab. Oh, okay, so these people come up with the idea that let's just kill 2 girls. Yeah, how does that conversation go down? Everybody in that group, beyond just being self-serving, beyond being narcissistic, that they're murderous, right? That's what you're asked to believe, that someone came up with the idea and that all these different people say yes. Well, I mean, think about it this way. The idea is you don't say no, okay, because you become the victim. And if someone had said no in a cabal, they would have been the person lying down there on Ron Logan's land making the plan work, right? It's an offer you can't say no. That's what that basically means. Once it's been, you can't go, oh, well, you just go ahead. You go ahead. I'll just be over here. I'm not into that. That you can't go about your own business with that kind of knowledge, right? So that's the crux. So, you know, you've got to think, okay, is it seriously something someone could do? You know, and I think no. I mean, there is enough dysfunction, there is enough violence, abuse, disregard for human life, disregard for welfare, there is enough toxicity, there is enough evil oozes out of the adults surrounding these Wells children. There's enough there. It's nobody else. You know, you don't have to look any further. You don't have to try too hard. They're coming to you on a screen near you, you know, every night. Don Wells is away in jail now, But, you know, Candus is relishing. So the first time she probably feels more amazing than she ever has in her whole life. She's a very lonely person, and she's an adult now, free, not a young child, free and desperate. She's got a place to live. She's got people paying her attention, wanting to be her friend. She's happy to use them. She knows what they want. She'll give them just enough, and she is receiving funding, and she's up there on the hill, and she's having friends. She's relaxed, and it's for the first time in her life, and the disappearance of Summer has brought her this. You know, right? You know in your gut, and it's because you're a good person that you bring the benefit of the doubt in. It's because you're a good person, right? And that's what these grifters, this type of sociopath, I personally believe within the type 2 sociopath, I think I really see it as a scale. I see a sociopath can be someone that has grown out of attachment disorder because it's pure abandonment. A mother dies, a father later dies. They moved around from family to family, and they just have this burning need to succeed at any cost. And there's one way they're going to do that, and it is through being creative and blustery, and not always honest, but they're developing a skill set, and they use charm, and they want to attain a level in life. They need it. They're driven to, and they have to do it all for themselves. They're relying on themselves, and they might scramble up over people to do it. Okay, would that person murder? They might do some, drugs and alcohol make things a lot more complicated. And let's be honest here, they can make good people do terrible things. But there's another type of person. It goes a lot deeper. It's much more involved, and there's a lot more, darkness in there. And they will do absolutely anything, and they will just move on. And there's so much hate, and there's just a lot of hatred in the Bly family and in the Wells family. And Candus is capable of anything. I've got to go. I'm running really, really late now. I'm just trying to think if I had anything useful written down. Not really. But think about, she's not an intelligent psychopath who, mimics and uses. She thinks she is. She's very griftery, but like most psychopathic people of any type, it's really just sustaining it for short bursts with people. She will never have a sustained relationship, except say with someone she's trauma bonded with, like Don or whatever, right? But she's not getting that emotional mimicry right with regards to grief and Summer, and she's not doing what a mother would be doing in her situation, a real mother. Even the more intelligent ones will be making more of a show of it. Oh, please find my daughter, put this poster up, do this, search here, and we've done this, and and they're playing a game. You can think like some people that might have doctorates, things like that, right? Doctor's degrees in the NHS, for example, in the UK. She's not doing that. She's not doing anything, right? And everyone just drops off, and someone else comes in, and She should know it's a matter of time. This is too big. I think she's just going to enjoy the moment while she can. She probably knows what's coming down the pike. Anyway, now I'm really late. I'll see you later.